4.4, scatter plots. Can anyone tell me what a scatter plot is? Oh, wow. Huh? I bet we've seen scatter plots before, but here's the definition of a scatter plot. A scatter plot is a graph that shows the relationship between two data sets, two sets of data. The two data sets are graphed as ordered pairs in a coordinate plane. Scatter plots can show trends in the data. So, just like it says, it's got two sets of data on it. One of the sets of data are your x values. The other set of data are your y values. And those form ordered pairs, and the ordered pairs are just scattered all over the coordinate plane. And once again, scatter plots can show trends in our data. Okay? Are there any questions what a scatter plot is? Can I move on, or is anyone writing this? What? We're good? I can move on?
Yeah.
Okay, example 1. The scatter plot shows the amounts x in grams of sugar and the numbers y of calories in 10 smoothies. So what are my x values in this case? Grams of sugar, very good. Those are my x values. What are my y values in this case? The number of calories. Okay? So my scatter plot's on the next page. Here it is. So each point, there's 10 points on here. Yeah, there's 10 points on here because it says there's 10 smoothies. Each point represents a smoothie. So each smoothie has a number of sugar, a number of grams of sugar in it, and an amount of calories in it, right? So there's my two sets of data on my scatter plot. Does everyone understand what a scatter plot is now?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to answer these 3 questions about our scatter plot. Letter A. How many calories are in the smoothie that contains 56 grams of sugar? How do you think I'm going to approach this? Look at the graph. What am I looking for on the graph? Say that again?
Calories in a smoothie that has 56 grams.
Well, how do I know which smoothie has the 56 grams of sugar in it? Which axis do I have to look at to find 56 grams of sugar? The x-axis, because my x-axis is representing the amount of grams in sugar, right? So let's look at our x-axis for 56. Where would 56 be on my x-axis? Very good. Between 54 and 58. 56 would be right smack dab in the middle of those two, right? So everyone see how this is 56? So I go find the point that's at 56. There it is. Now look at the corresponding y value, aka the corresponding amount of calories for that smoothie. Which what is it? 270. Oops. So how many calories are in the smoothie that contains 56 grams of sugar? 270 calories. That's my answer for letter A. Any questions how I got that? Is that easy? It's pretty easy, isn't it? Letter B. How many grams of sugar are in the smoothie that contains 320 calories? How do you think I'm going to approach this one? Looking at my y-axis now, because that's what's representing the calories. What number am I looking for on the y-axis? 320. I find the point that's at 320 on the y-axis. Look at its corresponding x value. Where's 320? At the top, tippity top. Find the point that corresponds to it. Now I'm finding the x value that corresponds to that point, which is 70. So how many grams of sugar are in the smoothie that contains 320 calories? 70 grams of sugar. You're going to have some examples like this on your assignment. Make sure you're using the correct units. I want you to write the units out. Don't just put 270 and 70. I want you to write the units out. So here it's calories and grams of sugar. Okay? Letter C. What tends to happen to the number of calories as the number of grams of sugar increases? So let's look at our grams of sugar increasing. Okay? As they increase, what's happening to my Y values based on what my points are doing?
Start rising.
They start increasing as well. So I would say the number of calories tend to increase. And that'd be my answer for letter C. Questions on that? And now I'm done answering all three questions.
Wow.
How do we feel about example 1?
That was pretty easy.
Pretty easy? Good stuff? All right, can I move on? What'd you say? Okay, identifying correlations between data sets. A correlation is a relationship between data sets. You can use a scatter plot to describe the correlation between data. So there's 3 types of correlations we're going to see. Positive, negative, and no correlation. Okay? For it to be positive correlation, as my x values increase, I need my y values to increase as well. Okay? As the x values get bigger, the y values also get bigger. Based on my order pairs. It looks like these points are kind of clustered around a line, correct? Like I could draw a line through that set of data. When we get back from break, we're going to talk about that. That's called a line of fit. But what kind of slope would that line of fit have? Positive slope. So that's essentially why it's a positive correlation. As x increases, the y values increase as well. Okay? We good with that? Negative correlation. As my x values increase, my y values are decreasing. Once again, does it look like I could draw a line of fit through that set of data?
No.
Yeah? It looks like they're kind of clustered around a line, right? What kind of slope would that line have? What kind of a slope would that line have? Negative. That's negative correlation. Okay? No correlation. The points don't show any pattern. Points are just kind of literally all over the graph. So you can't really tell any kind of correlation that's going on between the 2 sets of data. They're all spread out, so that'd be no correlation. Are we okay understanding positive, negative, and no correlation?
Yes.
So on my previous example, would we say that's positive or negative or no correlation?
Positive.
Positive. As my x values are increasing, my y values are also increasing. Which we kind of already answered that on letter C, right?
Yep.
As the x values increase, we said the y values were increasing. That's positive correlation. I can also kind of see the points forming around a line of fit. That line would have a positive slope, positive correlation. Any questions about what types of correlation we have? How do we feel about correlation?
Good.
Okay, let's look at some examples. Tell whether the data show a positive, a negative, or no correlation. So letter A, we have age and number of vehicles owned. Letter A, age and number of vehicles owned. My x-axis is the person's ages in years. My y-axis is the number of vehicles owned. Would you guys say that that graph has positive, negative, or no correlation? No correlation. I'd agree with that. The points are kind of spread out everywhere. I don't see any correlation between the data. We could have guessed that there would have been no correlation based on the data we were given, right?
Yeah.
Does my age dictate how many cars I own? No. I could be 21 years old with 5 cars, while someone who's 82 has 1 car. Or I could be 21 with 0 cars, while someone who's 85 has 7 cars. Doesn't matter what age I am. It does not dictate. There's no correlation there between those 2 sets of data. Does that make sense?
Yes.
No correlation. That's what I would say on letter A. Questions on A? Letter B. Temperature and coat sales at a store. If I were not to give you a graph at all, and I gave you those 2 sets of data, temperature and coat sales at a store, would you say there's probably some type of correlation between those 2 sets of data?
Yes.
I'd probably say so as well. Now we just got to decide if it's positive or negative. Okay? My x values are the average daily temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. And my y-axis is my number of coats sold per day. So what happens as my x values get bigger, as the temperature gets higher?
Starts to go down.
What starts going down?
The sales.
The sales. The number of coats sold per day starts going down because it's getting warmer outside, right? And you can see that based on our points here. They got a downward trend, right? Also, you can see kind of a line forming based on these points. What kind of slope would that line have?
Negative.
So what kind of correlation is this?
Negative correlation.
Negative correlation. Questions on letter B? Any questions on example 2? How do we feel about example 2? Pretty easy? Okay. Can I move on? Okay. That's it for today. Page 203. Numbers 1 through 12 all. So we do Monday the 13th on Canvas. Like I said, when we get back from break, that's when we'll start talking about lines of fit and stuff like that. And we'll probably test over chapter 4 after break at some point. Not like the day after.
What if we don't come back from something?
From Christmas break.
I'm not coming back.
You'll have to take it at some point.
On me. What if I?
But this is our last new lesson for this semester.
For real?
Yeah.
I thought this passed away.
So, get this written down. Are there any questions about my notes before I end the recording?
Turn on that.